What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Appreciate you tuning in. We are back. We are back with more content. I'm actually really happy and excited to be making videos again. This is what I love. It's helping to guide people into a stream, a wavelength of peak performance. This is what all these videos are for. It's everything that it took me to get to peak performance versus where I started from, which is lackadaisical, frustrated, and everything in between. But anyway, this video is going to be on the fear of success. The fear of success and why A students end up working for the C students. That's a very real thing, okay? So let's talk about the fear of success. I don't know where this term came from. I didn't get it from anyone, but I'm sure I wasn't the first to mention it. But for some reason, I just started saying it and it clicked. But yeah, I'm looking it up right now. I'm definitely not the first person to say it. So it's defined on Google as the fear of success involves being afraid of achievement, often to the point that people will sabotage themselves. Yeah, that's pretty much in line with what I had. And it continues to say, while success is generally viewed as desirable, there are reasons why people may be fearful of doing too well. It's important to recognize that people often don't fear success itself. Okay, so here's how I would define it. The fear of success is success is it's a path that you walk down. If you decide and commit to walking down that path today, you are successful because you're committing to being that version of you. And the great things happen to great people. The money, the cars, the clothes, the lifestyle, the vacations, the relationships, those things happen to people who are building, who are focused on themselves, who are constantly chipping away and refining themselves every single day. They're focused on the vision, they're focused on getting better, right? So it's never a finite thing. Now, the fear of success is a fear of everything that comes with walking that path, okay? So let's start with the first thing. And this is why, keep in mind that the A students end up working for the C students. So I, in my hypnotherapy and high performance coaching practice, deal with a lot of high performers, a lot of successful, very successful people, business owners / entrepreneurs, successful salespeople, bankers, real estate, athletes, Navy veterans, you name it, I have worked with them, right? Entertainers, media personalities, so on and so forth. Really, really, really successful people. Way more successful than me. And one thing I notice is they are all concerned about getting to the next level. And the people who are really successful, they do not let the fear of judgment, which is my first point, stop them. So the reason why A students never get to the level that they truly want to get to is they play it safe a lot. They work behind the scenes, they work in their little silos, and they do really well at that, but they don't put themselves out there. They don't let the world know that they exist. They're very talented people. They're the most talented people, but they're too tied into their identity of being like an all-star performer or an all-star player that they are paralyzed by the idea that someone might talk smack about them, or someone might not like what they do, or they might not like how they show up. They're afraid of like the trashy, trolly Instagram comment, for example. And so they just don't put themselves out there. And so they might still make money behind the scenes or in their business, cold calling other people, but like they don't put themselves out there, for example, on social media. And so they never reach the level that they could, right? And I know social media isn't the end all be all, but let's be honest, you'd be lying if you said that putting yourself out there on social media would not supercharge your business. It did that for me. It's done that for everybody I know who has done so. So the fear of success, this first point, is a fear of what comes with putting yourself out there. And what happens is, first of all, you just have to do it. You have to do it to then realize that it was never as bad as you thought it was. It's like the cold shower, the cold water thing. Like you think it's way colder than it is. And you jump in the shower and it is in fact cold, but you realize it doesn't kill you. In fact, the feeling goes away after 5 or 10 seconds. Like by the time you count to 10, your body's already accustomed to it. That's exactly what happens when you put yourself out there. You realize that the people who comment, or no one really cares about you. They might care about you for the moment in time that they leave the comment, and then they scroll right past. You're not that important to people. I'm just being honest, right? And that should be something that brings you a sense of relief. I get hate comments all the time. I do one of two things. Number one, I block them right away. I let that take up zero headspace. That's number one. Number two, I let it be. Because sometimes the more controversy, the better, if we're being honest, right? But also, like, that's all they can do. People are going to talk. When you are doing something right, when you're doing something powerful and impactful, people are going to talk. But that's all they can do. And so it's so interesting to me and also perplexing that the people who want to make impact in this world, the people who want to be impactful through their work, are afraid of people talking and afraid of people responding. See, impact, you don't get to make impact 100% with a positive outcome. Like, people, when you're doing something right, people are going to hate. They are going to talk about you. But again, that's all that they can do. And when they do that, that is how you know you are on the right track. You're doing something that is working. That is a sign, a metric of success, is the hate you get along the way, as Alex Hormozi said. So it's not something you should duck. It's something you should want. It's something you should lean into, right? The more authentic you are, the more polarizing you're going to be, without even trying to be so. But C students have been getting talked about their whole lives. From teachers, parents, peers, siblings. The A students were hiding behind their illusion of perfection. It's like the golden child syndrome. I know because I had it for most of my life. And the C students, they developed this sort of hardening or buffer between them and the opinions of other people. And for myself, I built that for myself by either making a completely new social media account and just doing what I did over there and didn't tell anybody about it until I started to gain momentum and could prove to myself that, like, okay, I don't have to ask for permission. I'm good at what I do. And by the time people found out about it, it was already too late. They stopped criticizing what I did because there was proof of concept. So they started complimenting me and asking me how they could be a part of it and how they could help. Or number two, I just block everybody. But I'm a little cold like that because I think that nobody's potential opinion, because you don't even know what they're going to say or if they're going to care, which they won't, they don't, but nobody's potential opinion is worth me not actioning my dreams. This time is limited. We get one shot at this thing we call life, and there's a very real chance that you don't see the life that you want, you don't make the money you want, you don't drive the car you want, you don't get to have the vacations you want, all because you didn't want to come across as weird. I'll tell you this right now, your success lies in the things that make you different. And if you build a business, a career, a life around the things that make you different, well, then you will be a lot more successful than you are right now. Way more successful than you even perceived you could be. Okay? So the fear of success, the first main element is a fear of what comes with putting yourself out there. Number two, under the fear of success, high performers, A students, they got very far with just using their logical mind. They're smart, they make critical decisions, they think critically, and that works for them. They continue to do that because that has worked for them their entire lives. It works very well in like corporate settings where there's a lot of like pre-planned structure. You don't realize like how much thinking you don't have to do when you are working for someone else because the structure is it's already created. So corporate people are very focused on like one train of things versus having to, switch between modes and mediums and things like that. And so they were very reliant on their logical mind. Now that can become a problem real quick because when you are trying to get to the next level of your success, I think it goes without saying at this point, but you have to step outside of your comfort zone. When you're stepping outside of your comfort zone, when you're entering uncharted waters, you are presented with a series of decisions that you have to make that you have never made before. You've never made decisions in this kind of context before, or with this much weight before, or with these kinds of outcomes before. You don't know what it feels like to be the next version of you. You don't know what the next version of success looks like. So part of this is you're doing this with a blindfold on, you're making decisions. And so how could you rationalize this properly? You know, like there's no best way to rationalize this. So what happens is, in a nutshell, is high performers, high achievers become overly calculated because of a fear of missing. And a mentor of mine said this best. It's you might try to measure this too much, and if you try to measure this thing called personal development too much, you might miss. Right? You're measuring it so that because you don't want to miss, but if you continue to measure it, you might miss. So what is the whole point here? What is the best step forward here? It's to stop relying on the logical mind and start moving into the gut, the intuition. Your intuition brought you here, brought you to this video, it brought you this far. Your intuition brings you to the opportunity. But then you screw it up and you self-sabotage because you're trying to calculate based on old programming, old decisions. That stuff doesn't work here anymore. It takes an element of trust and really faith. Faith is the belief in the things that you cannot see yet. Faith in who you are going to become. Faith in the success that lies for you ahead. And unfortunately, a lot of high achievers never step outside of their comfort zone. So they walk down one path their whole life, which is like the corporate path. The path they can see and map out. If I get this promotion, then it makes me eligible for this promotion, which makes me eligible for this promotion. And that's cool. You'll make money. Sure. But like you'll always feel some sort of disconnect or some sort of living under your potential, which is the worst feeling. And it will grow and grow and grow and grow over time. Then you'll realize 10 years ago, you should have taken that bet. Because yeah, it was only, let's say it's a course or something. So it was only $3,000 or $4,000, which seemed like a lot at the time. But if you think about how much not being the best version of yourself is costing you, in other words, how much money you could be making as the best version of yourself, whatever that looks like, that little investment pales in comparison to what you're now missing out on. And that happens all the time. I see that all the time in my line of work. So what's the key takeaway here? You got to take chances. What more can I say? Especially if it's not going to kill you. It's sad because people think they're making the right decision by being overly critical, but they're really not. You're making decisions based on sample data that worked for the old you, not this new version of you. So stop asking yourself and start feeling yourself. That's from a Drake song, by the way. That's the second element. The third element of the fear of success, right? Which kind of ties into the second one, but A students, high achievers, they play in their comfort zone. Why? Because they don't want to look like a beginner again. They don't want to feel like a beginner again. They don't want to look bad at something. They don't want other people to see them as incompetent. Because their whole identity is built on getting good grades, or their whole identity is built on high performance, or doing really well, or scoring a lot. So they're afraid to try new shots. They're afraid to run new plays. They're afraid to learn new things. They're afraid to put themselves out there. They're afraid to look like a beginner again, because the high achiever is now the beginner, the rookie, the amateur. And the C students understand that success is all a process of working on yourself. And sometimes that means playing outside of your comfort zone and being a beginner again. And I know I'm speaking at a very high level right now, but you could apply this to anything. Athletics, sports, career changes, promotion, so on and so forth. C students understand that like, just because you're starting something new doesn't mean you're always going to be an amateur. Like they love that feeling of getting better. Their identity is built on progress. An A student's identity is built on perfection, and perfection is an illusion. There's no such thing as perfection. but yet they try and hide behind that. And that's why they never see the success that they could. Versus the C student is okay with starting a business, having it fail in front of everyone, and starting another one because they know that it didn't really fail. They had to walk down that path to learn the lessons they needed to then go and start the next business, which is going to be that much more successful. And if that one fails, then they know that it's not failure, it's progression. And this whole game of life is a game of inches, like football. You keep stacking, keep stacking, keep stacking. And then what you thought people thought were your failures were really just little things, lessons that you stand on to gain a higher vantage point to then see the desired reality and create and build the desired reality that you want to be the highest version of you, right? You must stand on your experience. A students don't get experience outside of their comfort zone. And that's what kills them. That's what it means to live under your potential. They just don't know it until it's too late, most often. Anyway, so that's the fear of success, guys. I hope that brought you some kind of illumination, enlightenment to this whole journey. And if I can give you one takeaway, it's to not build your identity around perfection, but around progress. Fail more. Experiment more. Right? Experiment more. In these videos, I only speak from my experience. I only speak from my experience, right? And there are things that I'm learning. And to a lot of people, I know nothing. I still will come on here and say I don't know nothing. But I know enough, and so do you, to put something out there, to put myself out there, all right? Let me know your questions and thoughts in the comments. If you made it this far, please just hit the thumbs up button, hit the like button so these videos can get put into the algorithm for those who really need it. See you guys in the next video. I'm out. Peace.